and that collective endeavour does not stop here. It falls to me and to our generation of Labour women to follow in the footsteps of those who went before us, to write the work of all women back into our economic story, to show our daughters and our granddaughters that they need place no ceiling on their ambitions. That is the Britain we're building. That is the Britain that I believe in. Conference, why is it that the British people put their trust in us for the first time in 5 general elections? It is because, thanks to Keir's leadership, we left no stone unturned to show that Labour is the party of economic responsibility and the party of working people. We were elected because, for the first time in almost 2 decades, people looked at us, looked at me, and decided that Labour could be trusted with their money. That is more than a political choice or a single line in any manifesto. It is about our values, because we saw what happened 2 years ago when governments play fast and loose with the public finances. When the prices of food and housing and energy soar, it is working people with mortgages, rents and bills to pay who suffer the consequences. Well, I will not take that risk. I will repay the trust that people put in us. Trust is hard-earned, but it's easily squandered. Just ask the Conservatives. They paid the price for their incompetence, their dishonesty and their rule-breaking.
We are still selling arms to Israel. I thought we were voting for change, Rachel. Climate breakdown is on our doorstep. And we are still backing down.
This is a changed Labour Party, a Labour Party that represents working people, not a party of protest. Because we changed our Labour Party and we now have the chance to change our country for the better. We've had years of protest and we've had years of division and decline that left working people worse off. It wasn't for the Conservatives just the heaviest defeat in their party's history, but it was the heaviest defeat for any governing party in British history. And Conference, I can tell you today that I am so proud that our Women's Parliamentary Labour Party is bigger than the entire Conservative Parliamentary Party. And so where will the Conservatives go next? Well, what a clash of the titans their leadership contest has become. The former Home Secretary, who called the Rwanda scheme batshit, and is of course now pledging to bring it back. The former Immigration Minister, who found himself too right-wing to work with Suella Braverman. The moderate candidate, the former Security Minister, who says that he acts on his principles, previously demonstrated by backing Liz Truss to be Prime Minister. And then there's the former Business Secretary, who claims that she became working class at the age of 16. But conference, the Tories' failure was not just because they were incompetent or deluded, not just because they put party before country. Though of course both of those are true. It is because they do not understand the world as it is today. They do not understand the premium on economic stability in an uncertain world. They do not understand that in our new age of insecurity, government cannot just get out of the way and leave markets to their own devices. Instead, the Tories cling to the discredited, trickle-down and trickle-out dogma that a strong economy can be built through the contribution of just a few people, a few parts of the country, or a few industries. Their ideas choked off investment, opened wide gaps between different parts of the country, and it suffocated growth and living standards. We will not make those mistakes. Yet, when their ideas were found wanting, what did? They doubled down. Never forget what the Conservatives did. 2 years ago today, in their clamour to cut taxes for the richest, they crushed the economy, sent mortgages spiralling and put pensions in peril. And you will hear many things at their conference next week, but you won't hear an apology. No apology for the cost of your mortgage. No apology for crumbling classrooms and rising waiting lists. No apology for mismanaging our public finances, degrading our institutions and crashing our global standing in the world. They do not care, and they have learned nothing. So be in no doubt.
Okay, well, there you go. That was the big speech from Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. She's now taking a few photos with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, to thunderous applause, standing ovation in the room for her speech. I think it's fair to say that she did adopt a bit more of a positive tone, but let's have a little look at the content, what she actually had to say, because joining me live in the studio is political commentator Matthew Stadlen, and we also have pollster and academic Matt Goodwin with us. Matt Goodwin, I'll start with you. What did you take away from that? I did think the biggest amount of applause, apart from right at the end, was for the VAT on private schools.
Well, great. I mean, that's going to raise, about $1.5 billion, so a sort of drop in the ocean. I thought it was a very weak speech. I thought the party embodied in Rachel Reeves looked insecure, looked on the defensive, not like a party that's just won the biggest majority since 1997. They talked a lot about how much they dislike the Tories. Why are they wasting all that time on the Tories, their new party of government? She talked endlessly about identity politics. She's, the first female chancellor. Who cares? We want a chancellor who is doing the job and delivering a thriving economy. We don't want to constantly be discussing identity politics. And there's a remarkable amount she didn't talk about at all. She said very little about our national debt, which we've seen over the last few weeks, is forecast to reach 300% of GDP in the not-too-distant future. She said nothing about the broken model of mass immigration, which the OBR said 2 weeks ago is costing the average taxpayer £150,000 a year for every low-skill, low-wage migrant coming into the country, which many of them
Yes, she
are.
spoke of the cost of the Rwanda scheme, didn't she?
She spoke about the cost of the Rwanda scheme, but she didn't talk about the actual model of mass immigration in our country. She didn't say anything about social care. She talked about, the winter fuel payments, which are going to save $1.5 billion. She didn't talk about the elephant in the room, which Paul Johnson and the Institute for Fiscal Studies have said is the really big problem facing the British people, which is how we're going to pay and support a much larger number of older people in the future. She didn't say anything about that. And just lastly, this was the line for me. Where there are vested interests, Labour will take them head on. Well, actually, where there are vested interests, I think Labour will say, let's give you a pass to number 10 Downing Street, let's take the apartments in New York, let's take the clothes, let's take the glasses, let's take the expensive photographers, let's keep going and going and going, because actually we quite like vested interests.
Yes, difficult for them to land those criticisms of the Conservatives, which Rachel Reeves did try to do, didn't she, Matthew? She spoke about the Conservatives' record when it came to all sorts of things, but perhaps it falls a little flat when there's such a spotlight on Labour when it comes to donations, sleaze, some accusations of corruption maybe there in the Labour Party too. I'm just going to show a quick clip of what happened in the middle of the speech. Well, closer to the start, a pro-Palestine heckler started heckling the Chancellor. Let's have a watch.
We are still selling arms to Israel. I
changed Labour Party, a Labour Party that represents working people, not a party of protest.
Can you get that on camera?
Are these
People say they love me.
types
The
of,
best people.
helpful?
He's amazing.
I'm not particularly interested
I know,
in the
I know.
interruption. I think it actually gave Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, an opportunity to say again that this is a changed Labour Party and it's a party for working people. It's not a party of protest. What I'm interested in is the substance. I think some key takeaway messages. No return to austerity. Well, the proof will be in the pudding. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating for that. I think it was a speech about growth, and she was starting to put some flesh on the bones of how the Labour Party are going to, how the government is going to generate growth. But again, time will tell. We desperately need growth, because if we're going to pay for social care, which Matt correctly identifies as one of the crises facing our ageing population, we really need to start growing the economy. She said it is about investment. The challenge is growth, and the answer is investment. In order to invest properly, you're going to have to raise some taxes. I mean, she didn't talk, I don't think, about the broader shoulders of the wealthiest, but I think we'll see that very possibly in the budget. It's not just about taxes, though. It is also about growing the economy. She did repeatedly say we have to have economic stability. And the Labour Party has been scarred over the decades by these charges that it isn't economically responsible. And she said she won't take risks with our money. So this is about economic stability. It is also about growth. It is about growth in the regions. She talked about the regions. She name-checked different parts of the country. We'll see whether that materialises.
Yes, this promise of no return to austerity is an interesting one, isn't it? Particularly when you have, she's going to be taking away welfare from pensioners and also raising taxes, presumably, at the budget. I'm very sorry, we're going to have to cut you off there, but thank you very much indeed. We'll come back to you.